of a 350cc Royal Enfield motorcycle, chances are that you're thinking of a motorcycle that's classic, if you know what I mean, and a little more relaxed, good for easy riding. But now Royal Enfield wants to stir up the pot a little bit by coming out with a motorcycle that's a bit more sporty, a bit more agile, street friendly, and looks a lot more modern as well. The result is this, the new Royal Enfield Hunter 350. Now let's start with the design of the motorcycle. First thing first, the Hunter 350 comes in two versions. What you're seeing here is the Metro version, which is the higher spec model. And being Metro, it has a more modern feel and finish. Now, there are a lot of things that the motorcycle borrows from other J-series motorcycles like the Classic 350 and the Meteor 350. However, I do believe that this one stands out and has its own persona, its own identity amongst other Royal Enfield motorcycles. The biggest thing that you will notice right away when you get your first look at this motorcycle is just how compact this motorcycle is. Now, it borrows a lot of things from the J-series, but as compared to the Classic, the wheelbase is smaller and it has a sharper rake-in trail that gives it a very agile feel, which we will talk about when we talk about the riding experience. But let's take a closer look at the design elements. Starting from the front, you have a round headlamp which gives it a very classic look, but again, that too is surrounded by all black design elements. However, it is from here that I believe the motorcycle looks the best, from the rear three quarters, because from here that proportions really stand out and make it look like a motorcycle with a much bigger capacity engine and much more performance than the motorcycle has, and that will work wonders for those looking for a motorcycle that gives them that big bike feel. Now let's take a closer look at the design elements here at the back. Now, since this is the Metro variant, you get different rear end design, prime amongst which is the tail lamp unit, which in the Metro variant is an LED tail lamp. This is flanked by rounded indicators. The Retro variant has the typically designed rectangular-ish indicators. And of course, you get this sporty grab rail as well. And I think that looks quite nice. In the Metro variant, you get a rear disc brake. In the Retro variant, you have drum brakes over here. Other differences as compared to the Retro variant are the seat. Now, as you can see, this is a bit scooped in, but in the Retro variant, it does not have this ribbed design and has a very plain Jane design instead. Last and not the least, the wheels. The Retro variant comes with alloy wheels and the Metro variant comes with spoked wheels. But I believe if you have the budget, step up to the Metro variant, because with these alloy wheels, if you have a flat tire anywhere, it will be a lot easier to get it changed, because your roadside mechanics don't really want to bother around with spoked wheeled motorcycles. So alloy wheels, I think, is the way to go. If you can go for the Metro variant, that is the variant to have, because all in all, it also looks a lot more premium, and with a wider section rear tire, it has a better road appearance as well. Now let's talk about the instrumentation that you get on the motorcycle. I'll just turn it on, and as you can see, it's a familiar unit. This is the same instrument cluster that you see on the Classic 350 and the Meteor 350 as well. However, keep in mind that this is again the Metro variant, the high spec variant. The Retro variant has a similar looking offset round instrument cluster. However, it is different in terms of the things that it displays in the digital part of the instrument cluster. Now, the other thing that people with keen eyes would have noticed by now is that it has the similar toggle style switch cluster as you see on the new Classic 350 and the Meteor 350. However, if you go for the Retro variant, you have a conventional switch for cutting off the ignition over here as compared to this that you see on the Retro variant. So all in all, the Hunter 350 looks rather handsome and is one of the better looking 350cc motorcycles that you can buy currently. And I think this looks great, especially in the urban conditions where we are riding this motorcycle. But let's talk about the highlight of the story, which is the engine. Now, this is the same J-series engine that also does duty on the new Classic 350 and the Meteor 350, and it comes identical, mechanically unchanged on the Hunter 350 as well. However, there are two things that make it feel different when it comes to the riding experience and how the motorcycle feels to ride. This engine comes with different mapping and different ignition as well. And all of that has been done to make the motorcycle feel a lot more peppy than compared to the Classic 350 or the Meteor 350. So by now you have a good idea of how the motorcycle has been designed, what has gone behind the scenes to make it what it is. But how does it all translate into real-world riding performance? First and foremost, the motorcycle feels a lot more agile to ride, and that's because of the geometry that the motorcycle comes with. It has a very sharp rake and trail, and it has a more compact wheelbase than the classic 350 as well. And even more importantly, it is a lot more lighter than the other J series motorcycles. It is 10 kilos lighter than the Meteor 350 and full 14 kilos lighter than the classic 350. And that lightweight coupled with the more sporty dimensions of the motorcycle, that makes it a hoot to ride in traffic. The handlebar is well within reach, you don't really have to crouch forward for it. And interestingly, Royal Enfield has said that while designing this motorcycle, they also kept in mind how women riders will adapt to it right away. The motorcycle has a lot of response on offer, so you can really flick it around, and especially since it is light, you really do enjoy that as well. But it is quite easy to get carried away, and at that point you will want more grip from the front as well. Other than that, let's talk about the braking. I was quite happy with how the front brakes feel. There was not a lot of bite, not as much as I would have wanted, but they did the job well. However, coming for the rear brakes, the ABS sensitivity was quite high. So braking hard using rear brakes for those who are used to using a lot of rear brakes, which might be the case for newer riders stepping up to a 350cc motorcycle, they will find that the ABS sensitivity is quite high. So you do take a bit of time adjusting to how you want to use the front and rear brakes on the motorcycle. But then again, once you get used to it, you will be quite comfortable and you will have enough bite on the brakes for those emergency situations if need be. Now, talking of the handlebars, once again, as I mentioned, they are well within reach and they're quite comfortable to hold on to as well. A little bit of input is more than enough to get a response out of the motorcycle. This is one of the better engines that Royal Enfield has made in recent times, right after the twin-cylinder engines, 650cc engines that does duty on the new 650 twins. As for what this engine does, well, it's quite refined. It has a great throttle response, and with the new mapping, it feels more alive than ever before. However, if you are at constantly high RPMs, there are some vibrations that you will feel on the seat and on the foot pegs, but they're not too extreme. It is nothing to be concerned about. It is perhaps quite normal for an engine, a single cylinder engine of this size, when it's revved out to the max. And speaking of max, you can take the engine to 114 kilometers an hour. That is the top speed that Royal Enfield is claiming, and we tried that out. And the good thing to note was that even at 100 kilometers an hour, which are the highway speeds that you would usually do for long distance traveling, the motorcycle felt right at home. There was no issues from the engine whatsoever. It did not feel like you're straining the engine or pushing the motorcycle too hard. Talking about the suspension, well, if you're used to other Royal Enfield motorcycles, you will find this one to be a little bit on the stiffer side. But given how the motorcycle feels, which is agile and sporty and nimble, especially while slicing through traffic, I think the suspension is right up to the mark and does the job well. Even when you have surprising undulations on the road or potholes that you did not see, well, the motorcycle does not feel unbalanced at all. But keep in mind, we've ridden the motorcycle here in Bangkok, in Thailand, which has really nice roads. How does it feel on the Indian road conditions? Well, that is something that we'll tell you when we do a full review of the motorcycle once we get our hands on it back in India. So the Royal Enfield Hunter 350 was a great experience here in Bangkok, in Thailand. And given the traffic conditions that we have here, surprisingly, the road conditions felt quite similar to what we have back at home. All in all, what Royal Enfield set out to achieve was a motorcycle that feels quite different from the classic and the Meteor 350, and I believe the Hunter 350 manages to carve out a niche for itself quite well. I think it's a great option for those stepping into a 350cc Royal Enfield motorcycle for the first time, and also a great option for those looking for a Royal Enfield and do not want to spend a lot of money and want a motorcycle for their everyday commutes. How is it in India? We'll get to you with a full review very soon, but the first impressions are definitely positive.